talking about the Bayformers movies, it's pretty typical to bring up how prominent the human characters are. In fact, there have been many jokes in many Transformers reviews that the Transformers movie should be called Humans, featuring the Transformers. And I can understand that. But you see, this movie is actually no exception to that. In fact, I have found that there are at least a couple of subplots that play no part in the main plot when it comes to the human arc of the main protagonist, Charlie Watson. Charlie Watson is a character who feels like she's in several different movies at once. One is going on adventures with a yellow robot who turns himself into a Volkswagen Beetle, and the other is dealing with the death of her father whilst handling other family issues, along with what I can only describe as a knockoff Mean Girls plot. I'm going to dive deeper into these weird subplots, but what's interesting, and I feel like I need to point this out right off the bat, is that these subplots hardly interact with each other. There's practically no point for having these subplots to begin with, other than for artificial character depth and to pad out the runtime. Now, I know that it's typical for movies and TV shows to have an A plot and a B plot. The problem comes when this A plot and B plot hardly interact with each other, if not at all. And that's what happens in this movie. The closest thing that comes to interactions with the A plot and B plot is when Bumblebee basically destroys one of Charlie's bully's cars. That's the only way that these two plots interact. And when it happens, and when it's done, it might as well have never even happened at all, because it contributes literally nothing to the plot whatsoever. In fact, you know what? I'm gonna say it. The Bayformers handled human characters better than this movie. Whoa, hold on, hear me out. Now don't get me wrong, the Bayformers have tons of problems, and even the human characters are really annoying. But you gotta at least admit this. In the end, the A and B plots end up matching up together in the big climactic end. They may do it poorly, don't get me wrong, but at least they manage to conclude everything on one note, instead of multiple notes like what this movie does. In fact, speaking of the main protagonist, while watching the movie, I couldn't help but notice something. You see, Charlie Watson isn't that interesting of a character. The closest thing to conflict Charlie actually has seems as if the world is working against Charlie. Her father passed away, her family is out of touch with her, she has a crap job, her stepbrother treats her like trash. The world seems to be working against her. I mean, really, what is there to say about the character of Charlie? How would you describe her? Definitely an outcast. Determined. That's about it, really. In fact, I would even go as far as to say that Charlie is one of the Mary Sueist Mary Sues I've ever seen. I don't care if Mary Sueist isn't a term, that's how I would describe her. I mean, think about it. Charlie is seemingly this perfect character, and the world just seems to hate her. I mean, that's typical Mary Sue behavior. In fact, if you want even more proof that Charlie is a Mary Sue, just watch this.
Hey, kid. Hand me the 3/8, would you?
You working on a carburetor?
Mm-hmm.
I need the 1/2 inch.
I said the 3. Oh. Thanks, kid.
Yep. I bypassed the compressor.
Now, you may have just noticed that Charlie appears to be in a repair garage / junk heap / whatever this place is. Now, you might be wondering why. Me too. I mean, this guy here in the red shirt is Charlie's uncle, and Charlie herself likes to work on cars. Whoop-de-freaking-do. I mean, the only reason why this place even exists is to introduce Bumblebee to Charlie. and the writers couldn't really think of any better situation to do so. You know, it's kind of like that scene in the first Transformers movie back in 2007 where Sam just so happens to have an interest in Bumblebee. Come to think of it, what is it with Bumblebee and being immensely appealing to humans, specifically teenagers? Well, I guess the Hasbro brainwashing is finally setting in. In fact, an interesting thought just came to mind. Wouldn't it be more interesting if Charlie's family car were a Volkswagen Beetle and Bumblebee just so happened to take it as a disguise and, in fact, replaced it later on? I feel like, I don't know how you would go completely around that, but that would make for a much more interesting reason as to why Charlie discovers Bumblebee. I don't know, I'm not a Hollywood writer. Anyway, so we have the scene where Charlie goes into... Oh, god damn it! It's like we... Whoa! It's Bumblebee! Let's put a beehive in B! I'm so funny, you guys! Sorry about that. I just needed to do that to get that off my chest. Anyway, so we have the scene where Charlie's interested in Bumblebee for no apparent reason. She climbs in, and we notice that the key is actually still in the car. So, of course, she tries to switch it on, and then this weird sound starts emitting from the radio.
I'm sure you're familiar with that.
Where is Optimus Prime?
And this is where we are introduced to the main two Decepticons of the movie. This one is named Shatter, and this one is named Dropkick. Remember that now. The red one is Shatter, and the blue one is Dropkick. Now, you might be wondering why I feel like I have to put so much emphasis on their names. That's because the movie doesn't. Ever. In fact, we don't even know what their names are throughout the entire movies. The only reason why I know that Shatter and Dropkick are named Shatter and Dropkick is because of the promotional material and the boxes of the toys. That's it. If I were to watch this movie alone and not do my research on who these characters are, I would never learn the names of these Decepticons. And funnily enough, this is another thing that the Bayformers got right. I mean, yeah, they didn't introduce the names of the Decepticons all the time, but at least I know for sure that this is Soundwave, this is Megatron, this is Starscream, and this is Shockwave. With this movie, I don't know who these guys are. I mean, for God's sakes, it's so easy to mention the names of these two Decepticons. Why can't they have a scene where it just goes something like, "Hey, Shatter. Yeah, Dropkick? We need to find Beat 127. Okay, let's go do the thing." I mean, yeah, the execution of that was stupid, but at least it was something. Heck, the characters don't even need to say their names. They could do something like this recruitment scene from the 2007 Transformers movie, where their names are clearly stated. I mean, they're not verbally said, but at least now we know for sure what their names are. I mean, how do you even mess up something this trivial? I really can't let these tangents take so much time in these reviews. Anyway, so in this scene, Shatter and Dropkick are interrogating Cliffjumper in order to find the location of Optimus Prime.
My name is Cliffjumper.
Well, hey, at least we know the name of Cliffjumper now.
No. That's B-127's signal.
So yeah, that's what that noise was all along. How convenient. Also, what was that song playing? That's weird. That song wasn't playing when Charlie turned Bumblebee on. Don't take that out of context. No! Anyway, so Shatter and Dropkick kill Cliffjumper, and they realize, hey, Bumblebee is on Earth. Let's go there. So after that, we cut to the next day, and it's Charlie's 18th birthday.
You gotta wear this from now on. I don't care if it's not the law. It's our law.
Yeah? Well, it's my law not to have this unnecessary scene!
Speaking of this scene, I'm getting this crap off of YouTube. That'll explain the Russian and Korean subtitles, obviously. But interestingly enough, the titles of these clips are, specifically this clip, is deleted and extended. But here's the interesting thing. I saw this movie in the theaters initially, and every single scene that I talk about was for sure in the theatrical release. So there's basically no excuse here.
And hey, speaking of unnecessary scenes...
I will be right back. If you die while I'm gone, I will kill you, okay? Ah, let go of me! Look, I didn't pull a move on you and break your fingers off!
Charming. I'm only showing you this crap because this is my reaction when I first watched it. There was literally no point to that, other than to establish that Charlie's stepbrother and her are in a bad relationship, like most siblings are anyway. What was the point?
Anyway, so you're probably wondering why Charlie seemed to be in such a rush. Okay, you're not. But basically, she is going back to her uncle's shop in order to try to get the Volkswagen Beetle. Which, of course she does.
It's yours, kid. Happy birthday.
So Charlie ends up getting the car because the plot needs to move along. And thus, a montage ensues of her repairing the Beetle. And of course, not long after she began, the car ends up working just fine.
That thing ain't even safe to drive.
It's a death trap. She's happy, though.
Yes, I am going to willingly increase the risk of my niece dying in a car crash because this thing is immensely unsafe to drive. She's happy though.
Later that day, she decides to take it out for a little test drive when she uncovers some pretty significant problems.
Alright, really?
Oh my god, why is everyone looking at us? Happy birthday, Charlie.
Charming.
This motivates her to start working on Bumblebee when a strange chunk of Bumblebee falls to the ground. Now, of course, if anyone were to see this, this would obviously spike up their curiosity, and for Charlie, this is no exception. So she decides to take a look at what exactly this was. And... oh, God, what the hell?
Now, I had already mentioned this when I was taking a look at the trailer all those years ago, but basically, you know how some Transformers toys, how the head is visible from the bottom? That's apparently how it works in real life, too. Now, I already mentioned how this would completely ruin a Transformers disguise in a situation exactly like this, but I can't help but think that if that were the case, if that's how that works, then the interior would look like a bunch of robot kibble, and the windows would be heavily tinted, if not completely covered, and not see-through at all. I don't know, maybe he's an alternator or something. Why?
There is no reason to transform here. If anything, it makes more sense to intentionally remain in your vehicle mode. Why would you do this? This is so stupid. It would make far more sense if Bumblebee would have just stayed in his vehicle mode and waited for Charlie to leave. Why'd you do it? Why did you transform?